Thank you very much, and everyone. This is Jody Shiloh speaking, and I'm the Director of Fusion Middleware Solutions for Oracle. And what we have here is a webcast to introduce to you a brand new solution that Oracle is offering, along with our partner, TekStream, and I'll introduce them shortly. And this is a new set of solutions to help us better address your business requirements. Next slide, please. In this case, the topic of our webcast today is enterprise-wide contract lifecycle management. And joining us today are our very close partner, TekStream. Judd Robbins and Troy Allen will take you through the solution set, which allows us to solve business problems around contract management while leveraging Oracle software to solve that problem, and also, very importantly, integrating to existing Oracle applications that you might have. So what I'd like to do right now is mention two things. One is we are monitoring the WebEx chat, so please put your questions in there. And we'll do our best to answer those questions during the session, and also we'll wrap up our discussion with an audio Q&A if there's time. So what I'll do is pass the phone over to Judd. Judd, so are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Jody. Thank you. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. All right, guys, appreciate you attending. We'll do a little bit of agenda housekeeping, and then we'll hop right into the content. So we're going to do about 40 or so minutes if you include the Q&A as part of our agenda today. We'll do some basic introductions of the presenters. We'll give you guys a good overview of the contract lifecycle process in general, discuss some of the common issues that contract processing imposes on companies, talk a little bit about how we address those with our specific customers, and then we're going to show you the tool that we use to address those issues with the customers. And as Jody mentioned, please do put all of your questions in chat. We'll queue them up and we'll get to them at one of the breaks. This one. So I'm Judd Robbins. I run business development for TekStream. My career has been about 16 or so years focused on portal and content management applications, specifically in the Oracle family. I'm also lucky to have on the phone with us today Troy Allen, who is our Executive Director of Solutions, has extensive technical and functional deployment experience for content-specific solutions at about 200 or so Oracle customers across a couple of decades. So we're lucky to have him here and be joining us at the demonstration time. So at a very high level, let's just go ahead and define what contract lifecycle management, or I'll use CLM, so I'll use those interchangeably throughout the discussion. The title is somewhat self-explanatory, but let's put some scope around it just to make sure that we have the definition on the same page for everyone here. CLM is the proactive, methodical management of a contract from creation through approvals, storage, retrieval, and renewal or termination, so the full life cycle of the document. Seemingly pretty straightforward, but the complexities really reside in the human factor, the management of those documents, and of course the company processes. So before we hop into the actual issues, let's highlight the characters that are typically associated with the contract lifecycle process. Sales, right? This is near and dear to my heart. Typically associated with revenue-based customer contracts and are usually involved in the front-end part of the contract management process. On the flip side is procurement. Procurement traditionally focuses on the hundreds and sometimes thousands of vendor contracts that are vital for enterprise software or enterprise companies to keep their processes going. Legal, right? This is one of the most key roles involved with contract creation, review, modification, and most importantly, the approval of contracts that go back to sales. And last but not least, of course, we have compliance, the record keepers, amongst their other very important job titles. They're tasked with retaining the contracts and making sure that the enterprise is compliant with company policies and federal regulations. Seemingly four very different groups, but all of these groups have to work harmoniously if the contract lifecycle process is to be effective. Many of you people have probably experienced disjointed processes, and maybe that's why you're on the phone today. But as you guys know, this is not always the most easiest process to execute if you do not have the right processes, applications, or battle-tested methodologies in place. Looking at some of the common problems that we run across, again, we mentioned we've been in this industry for about 10 to 20 years, depending on who you talk to. These are actual quotes that I'm going to show you from our customers. These are real problems that we hear, and we've aggregated across many different industries, commercial and public sector included. Sales, again, number one issue is constantly interested in getting the contract back in the hands of a customer very, very quickly. So we've all known situations where contracts go in, it takes 4 weeks or so to get back through the process and back into the hands of the salesperson to give to the customer. And many times, especially in this the cloud environments and fast-paced enterprise applications, 4 weeks can be an entire sales cycle. So getting those contracts back in the hands of salespeople in, say, 4 days instead of 4 weeks, or in some cases 4 hours, is crucial to securing the customer and bringing that revenue in sooner. CLM reduces the rework, shortens review cycles, and gets those contracts back to the field as fast as possible. Procurement, always in a day with all kinds of contracts, service contracts, software contracts, product contracts, with all different purposes and all different durations. As I mentioned before, these are hundreds, sometimes thousands of different vendors that interact with a company. And if there's no systematic way in place for capturing and storing those contracts, it's impossible to manage those many, many different relationships. So what CLM does is it provides the easiest access possible for contracts, or mechanisms for you to quickly assemble contracts and make very smart business decisions. For example, is there business value in you being able to say, I want all of my Southeast contracts that are 3 years, that are service-oriented, and assembled quickly so I can review them in 5 minutes to decide which ones we're going to be moving forward with next quarter. From a legal perspective, contracts can usually be as easy as a 3-page extension, an annual extension, or as complex as a 500-page government contract, or government construction contract. The right legal person has to review those specific contracts, whether it be a paralegal or it has to go all the way out to third-party counsel. This issue can be compounded, especially if your business is a seasonal one, right? So contracts come flooded in in, say, the December timeframe for a retail company. Providing easy review tools to make sure those renewals get in the right hands of the right person. For example, a $50 resource managing that annual renewal versus a $700 resource that needs to review a hazardous waste contract is key in saving time and money. And of course, compliance folks are always worried about maintaining the documents. Customer has to have a centralized repository where contracts are simply dumped into a repository. People don't scan, they don't index, they don't use meta tags, and what that creates is a situation where they can't find contracts quickly, or the absolute worst situation is a contract is expired, you don't know about it, and a litigious situation occurs. One of our customers actually was doing exactly that, dumping contracts into a repository, had no way to do a text search, no way to do a metadata search. A litigious event occurred at an accident on one of their customer sites, and the provider had a contract that was out of compliance by over a year, which created a very sticky situation, as you guys can imagine. So when contracts using a CLM tool are put through a pre-designed, vetted workflow process, tagged with a contract termination date, and a predetermined business rules on how to handle those documents ahead of time, you don't run into those types of legal situations. Furthermore, you don't have third-party counsel thumbing through file cabinets trying to find the correct document at $500 an hour. So based on the customer demands just highlighted, and again, that's just some of them, and over a decade of experience dealing with contracts and various document management processes, TekStream has created the first enterprise-wide WebCenter Contract Lifecycle Management tool. And this approach has not only been validated by Oracle, as Jody had mentioned, or by our customer demand, but also validated by Forrester, who sees a phenomenal growth in this market for customer needs moving into 2015 and into 2017. There's several vendors that you guys, if you've done research in the space, there's open source vendors, there's cloud SaaS vendors, and even within inside of Oracle, there's isolated authoring modules that are specific to parts of their ERP. What we found is that there isn't a single product that crosses that entire boundary or that entire bandwidth, their entire life cycle. So customers that have bet their business on core ERP solutions like PeopleSoft or EBS or JD Edwards, this is a naturally supported extension to support that environment that's already in place. And of course, we are an Oracle on Oracle solution because CLM is powered by Oracle's Fusion middleware, and then specifically the WebCenter Content module inside of the Fusion middleware suite. The WebCenter Content tool is actually a 20-year-old tool. It was formerly Stellent for those individuals that know the industry pretty well, and has been award-winning industry leader year after year. So in addition to getting a platform that can manage your contracts, you're inadvertently investing into a document platform that can run any number of different things outside of just normal document management, like AP invoicing, HR onboarding, and RFP creation, things of those nature. So with that, what I think we'll do is we'll flip over to Troy Allen, who is going to actually show the demo in an example format of one of our customers.
Thanks, Judd. Give me just a moment to switch this over. John Smith is an account executive with World Services Incorporated. He's just received an email from Amber Reynolds, the Chief Procurement Officer of Acme Manufacturing, whom he has been working with on a potential marketing solution. John's looking at the email where Amber indicates that she's happy to get started, but notices that there is a request for some very specific warranty information. So John is going to make sure that he captures this email and puts it into the Contract Lifecycle Management or CLM server. In order to do that, he's simply going to drag and drop that email into his CLM folder structure and save it. Now he's ready to get started on the actual SOW or Contract Lifecycle process. He's simply going to log into the CLM server by providing his credentials and will be presented with a dashboard view of different things that he commonly works with. For example, there might be a workflow notification that he needs to take part in, or he may want to have access to search or create different types of contracts or documents within the system. He can also see different contracts and what their values are that have not been executed yet, as well as links to standardized reports within the system. More importantly and specific to him, down at the bottom will show his customers and his contracts. John's going to click on his current customer for Acme Manufacturing, which had already been created, and is going to put it into edit mode. Now John's ready to create what we call a contract folio. And think of a contract folio as a collection of all the documents that make up the contract information. So by right-clicking and choosing to create a new contract folio, he's going to provide the pertinent information, or metadata. This metadata and information will carry through to all the children documents through automated propagation. Therefore, you only have to create this detail one time and it passes it to all the sub-children below it. So John's going to make sure that he has all the appropriate information filled in. The items that you're seeing that are starred or in red indicate that they are required, and oftentimes these values might be used in order to drive how workflow processes are going to be performed within the system. For example, who needs to review, what departments need to be engaged, and what are the different cycles that that workflow is going to go through. So John's going to make sure that he puts in the appropriate information. For example, is there billing information that has to be provided so that when it goes to accounts payable or accounts receivable, they know what to expect and have a little bit of detail about the processing. And once John gets completed with filling out all of his appropriate metadata, he's just going to double check it real quick, and then he will continue the check-in process. Again, everything that you're seeing that is in red or asterisk means that it's required. This is configurable. You may want some fields on certain types of content to be required, other fields to be presented, and some not to be displayed at all because there is no real need for it. As we go through the demo, you will see variances in this metadata information based upon what we're trying to accomplish within the system. As always, security is very key within the application. So John is providing detail that's going to lock this down to a select group of individuals based upon what territory they work in. Lastly, he's going to put in some date information about when the contract starts, when the contract ends, and make sure that that's available as well. That has a significance in how contracts are disposed of through records retention management. So now John has applied that contract to the system, and he's going to save it to his customer folio. Now it's kind of locked in place. Once he does that, John is able to open the actual contract folio itself, and as he expands this, you'll notice that first it says that it's unexecuted. Once he expands the nodes, you'll see that he's got multiple storage locations. Now these, of course, can be extended based upon your specific needs, but this gives him a place to typically work in process and so forth. Now, if you recall, John had dragged and dropped his email into the CLM server. So now he's going and performing a quick search, and notice there's a plethora of metadata fields that he can choose from, but the one that he checked in is fairly close to the top, so he's just going to select that. Now what this does is it puts it into a container on the right-hand side. Oftentimes people will pick up multiple files that they want to work with at once, and they can simply drag and drop those into the appropriate node of the contract folio that they're working with. So now that John's done that, he's saved it and is ready to move on to the next step. And that is to go out to the CLM server and find a statement of work template. Rather than searching through the system, he's actually going into Word, and through the integration that comes with the CLM and the WebCenter Content servers, he's able to navigate directly to the CLM server, find his template. In this case, he's got a statement of work for World Services Incorporated, and start doing his edits on it. Here we see that he's already completed it, and if we scroll all the way down, we'll see that he's already put into it the warranty of services information that Amber had requested. Now that that's complete, he's ready to check this in as a new document into the CLM server so that he can then attach it to that contract folio that he created. Rather than saving it into the CLM, he's going to save it to his desktop because he may want to work with that in different times. So he's going to put it out on his desktop location, click Save. Now he's going to go back into the CLM server and show a different way of being able to insert documents into a folio node. This time he's going to right-click on his work in progress, and he's going to perform a check-in rather than doing a drag and drop as he did before. So again, there's certain metadata fields and information that's required. John's going to make sure that those are populated correctly, and he's going to navigate out to grab his file off of his desktop. Once all that is complete, he'll then click the check-in button to finalize and add that to the folio. Lastly, he's going to go and save his folio so that that information is secure and locked in place. We're now going to change gears to Matt Clemens, who is World Services General Counsel. He's going to be taking a look to see if there's any information that's available for him in his workflow process, and there is, the contract that John Smith had just submitted. So Matt opens it up and notices that there are some risk words that he might need to evaluate. By clicking on the Search by Words navigation on the left-hand side, he can see that there are two that are very key to him. One is no additional cost, and secondly, warranty. So he's going to click the link to go immediately to those sections within the document itself, either to the page where here we see it's a table of contents, or to the body of the text itself, and we'll verify whether or not the use of these phrases are going to pose a potential risk to their organization. However, Matt decides that this looks fine, so he's going to put in a message that he really wants somebody within the risk and compliance department to take a look at. So he's going to leave what we call a discussion thread and then approve this so that it moves forward to the next step of the workflow process. In this case, it happens to be the risk department because we did find these words and automatically route it to it. So now we're going to log in as Tony. And Tony is that risk officer who is going to see that he has an email notification, and he can either click on the link here or log directly into the repository in order to get to that workflow user interface where he can then start making some decisions. So Tony's clicked on the link, the UI has opened up for him, and he notices that there is a discussion, and it came from Matt Clemens, who indicated about the warranty words and just wants him to verify it. So Tony is going to go out and open up and look to see, well, what is in there actually. Again, we see the no additional cost and we see the warranty, and he's going to navigate down. He realizes this is fine. There's no real risk to the organization with this language, so he's just going to reply back to Matt letting him know about this. Now, these discussion threads are important because they actually live with the life of the documents. So now he's going to approve this so that it will return back to Matt so that Matt can do the final verification. Matt's going to take a look at his email and notices that he did receive notification that there's an item in his workflow queue. Again, he can either click on the link from the email or he can go directly into the browser to log into CLM server. Now that Matt has logged in, he's going to go to his workflow queue, and he's going to notice that there are entries into the discussion thread. So he looks at Tony's response, feels comfortable with it, but while he's here, he wants to look at the workflow process to see what has occurred so far. Every document goes in workflow has a complete audit trail of all actions that occurred, and it'll show what step you're in, what has transpired before this step, and then what are potential next steps. So from here, he's going to click on the document, and you'll notice that the approve button was different. It's now a sign and approve. This launches the electronic signature portion of the application, where it does require you to re-authenticate. And the reason for this is that we can track and make that available in reports. The user then can have multiple types of approvals that they can select from, but there's also a key feature, a timeout feature. This so that if you start your process, have to get up, walk away from your computer, it will time out so that nobody else can come in and accidentally sign for you. Now that that's done, we're going to log out, and it's now gone back to John, and John's looking at his email and sees that he has his document and final step. So John's going to log into the repository one last time, and we'll take a look at his workflow queue, and we'll see that the contract is sitting in his workflow. He's also going to look at the discussion thread, see the conversation's been going on back and forth between Matt and Tony, and lastly, he's going to check the last page to see if it has been signed, which that electronic signature has placed a time date stamp as well as an image of Matt's signature onto the document. Matt has to head to the airport, so while he is there, he actually uses his mobile device to log in. Oracle provides a connector to WebCenter Content Server for iOS and Android that allows you to access the key repositories. So Matt's logged into his mobile device and goes to his content and workflow to take a look at that manufacturing SOW as well. Now that he's pulled it up, he is able to share that with Amber. So he's going to click open in, and that will allow him to launch to the Oracle Document Cloud Services. This is a new service that is provided by Oracle on a monthly subscription basis. So Matt is going to choose the appropriate shared folder and select that, and then upload that document. The last thing that he's going to do is actually send a link to Amber so that Amber can view that document and be able to download it and possibly sign that. So he's going to click his share, which is going to allow him to provide either a member link or a public link for this particular document. Now that he's done that, he's going to construct an email, and you'll notice that it's embedded a link to that. Now, of course, this is going to me during this demonstration, but in reality, it would be going out to his customer or whoever it needed to go to. So he's going to provide a little bit of instruction to Amber about downloading and signing this document, and then he'll eventually click the send button. Now that that's been sent, we're going to change gears to actually be Amber. And she'll notice in just a moment the email come up in Outlook. You'll see that there is a link that points to the Oracle Document Cloud server. So she simply clicks that link and it launches into Oracle's new cloud-based document repository, which is based off of Oracle's WebCenter Content server. So from here she can take a look at the document and she'll scroll down through. She'll see that he has included the warranty information and everything looks good for her. Now all she needs to do is to download this document, print it, sign it, and then send it back as per the instructions that she received from the email. We're going to switch gears to John again, and you'll see an email message from Amber with the signed document. So at this point, we're going to take a look at it, make sure that it has all the signatures and that everything looks to be in order, and Matt's happy with that. So like he had done earlier, he's simply going to open up from his Outlook a directory structure that takes him directly into the CLM server so that he can drag and drop that attachment into his personal folders. This will then allow him to be able to associate that with the statement of work and the contract folio that he had created earlier. So Matt's going to log into CLM and start working on that piece of it. Matt's going to go down to his existing contract and he's going to insert into that the executed or the countersigned document that he received from Amber. So by going into edit mode, he's able to quickly search for the document that he had just uploaded out of Microsoft Outlook, select that, and then be able to drag and drop it into the appropriate node, in this case the executed node. That has a very key signifier to it in that it lets the system know, is this actually complete? Does it have all the different pieces and parts that are required? Now this can be configured so that different nodes require different documents before you can officially close out the folio. Now that he's done that, we'll do a quick refresh here and we'll see that the notice has changed to green saying that it's been executed. Now Matt's doing the final step of his process, which is approving that SOW completely out of the workflow queue. We'll refresh here and notice that it has gone out of his queue, which means that he has completed all of his tasks. And now we are ready for Mary, who is the Records Administrator and Compliance Officer of World Services Incorporated, to log into the system. Mary's going to be taking a look at a number of items, and you'll notice her dashboard is distinctly different from all of the other users so far. That's because of the specific nature of duties that she has. In this case, she's going to go in and perform an audit report for everything that John Smith has done within the past few days. She had a request from one of the division heads that wanted to see all activities that John has done, and by executing this, we'll notice that it downloads a PDF document. So she can scroll through this, go to the final pages here where we can see the most recent activities from John, and by clicking on one of the events, such as an edit event, we can see details of what actually he had edited. So by clicking on that information link, we can see that it was actually his marketing services contract that he had been looking at and making changes to. Mary is also going to take a look at a couple of other items of interest within the repository itself. She can take a look at every disposition that is waiting for her based upon a time schedule. So she's going to take a look at this and she can see she's got one document out there. Now she could go ahead and approve this, which would remove that document based upon the disposition, or she can take a quick look at it to see what it is, or she can take a look at all the current records that are stored for either non-standard or standard. So her view gives her a very select. So in this case, she's taking a look at all of the records that have been classified, And she's also looking at the disposition rule, so we can see, what it is waiting on, and that she actually is the individual that must approve these before they can be disposed of. The records can be configured in any fashion, whether it's moving it to archive, destruction, keeping metadata, but not keeping the original file. So a lot of flexibility in with this. She's also downloading a user report here to coincide with some other requests that she's had. This gives a full list of all the users within the system, when they logged in, any modifications that were made to them. So all of this detail is at her fingertips. We're going to switch gears now to our final portion of the demonstration, and we are going to be logging in as Sarah, who is the VP of Sales and Marketing for World Services Incorporated. As she logs into the system, she's going to take a look at John's latest contract, and she wants to be able to download that and take it with her to a meeting. So through the folio, she can actually render all of the documents and then attachments as a zip file. So here we see her open it up and seeing the individual documents. So now she can take that with her anywhere she needs to. Here we're seeing that she is performing a different search, and the system provides different views of information. So one view may show more financial information, one may show more detailed information. CLM also provides the ability for you to take all of these searches and be able to download those into reports into an Excel format as an example, so that you can then import that into other reporting tools as needed. So from this, we see that she's downloaded an Excel of the information that's on the page, brings it up, and depending upon what her view from the search results is providing is what information she could quickly and easily export out to other applications. There's other reports that might be available for her, really dependent upon the need of the individual user. This concludes the demo portion of today's session. Jed, I'm going to hand it back over to you so that you can take control of the screen again.
There we go. So we've gone through demonstration and covered quite a bit of material and information in that, and would be more than happy to meet with all of you independently and go through it in specific needs to what your organization needs. However, what we wanted to take a look at is what is actually included in the CLM package. As we indicated before, this is an application that sits on top of the WebCenter Content server, which is a world-class document and information management tool provided by Oracle. What comes out of the package are a number of custom dashboards that you were able to see in the demonstration, carrying everything from workflow assignments to direct access to your customers or to your contracts. It also comes with pre-built metadata. This is based upon, as Judd had indicated, over 10 years of working with different customers and their needs, in particular to not just document management, but contract management, RFP management, RFI, MSAs, NDAs, and being able to capture the pertinent information that you need, not just for search, not just for workflow, but also to share with external or third-party applications. As an example of this, being able to check in a contract, have all of the financial details available, pass that off to your accounts payable or accounts receivable application, along with that metadata and the attached file. And then lastly, additional features that we've added above and beyond the WebCenter utilities as part of CLM are a new workflow UI, enhanced uses of discussion threads for passing information back and forth and ensuring that that information is kept and maintained throughout the life of the contract, and being able to capture keywords within any type of document and route that to individuals based upon that information so that you can quickly and efficiently evaluate, are these words at a risk for us? Are these things that we need to consider within particular terms and conditions? To save the amount of time that you have to go through, rather than reading every word in a 1,000-page contract, look for those that you know are going to cause problems and be able to jump to those immediately to make your decisions. In addition, we have a number of pre-built workflow triggers based off of the metadata and the keyword information and typical workflow steps and processes that we normally see in the contract lifecycle management. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Judd, who will finish this out.
Wait for the screen to refresh here. Perfect. Yeah, thanks again, Troy. Hopefully that was a full, holistic example of a real-world example where CLM is addressing the complete life cycle from start to finish of contracts. As you mentioned, we create a number of different solutions on top of the WebCenter portal, content sites, and imaging platforms. Contract lifecycle management is just one of them, so please stay tuned for the release of Photo InStream coming shortly, and the re-release of WebCenter Content Loader later this year. So Jody, I think at this point, we can open it up for questions if there are any.
There's a question, can the language be configured based on user in the chat?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Jody?
Can the language be configured based on user?
Can the language be based on user? Yes. So I assume that you're talking about the terms that we're looking for and being able to route based upon those terms within the contract. So since you have the ability to predefine what type of keywords or phrases you would like to look for, we can also set a dependency. So if it is something like waiver of immunity, we know that it needs to go to John and legal counsel. If it is a keyword that we find such as refund, we know that that has to go to the VP of sales. The application also supports all of the languages that Oracle WebCenter Content Server natively supports out of the box, which is a huge, tremendous volume of languages that the interface is designed for, as well as being able to search for languages, documents in those languages.
And Jim, the question, first answer the question, we'll open up to Q&A in a second. I don't see any of the other additional questions in the chat. We could open it up if Dawn is there to help us to go to audio Q&A.
If you would like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, if you have a question, please press star 1 at this time.
And gentlemen, while we're waiting for some questions, if I were using an Oracle application like PeopleSoft, how could I leverage this solution, considering I might be a PeopleSoft, have users in PeopleSoft?
Yeah, Jody, I'll answer that for you, if that's okay. This is Troy. So as some of you may be aware, WebCenter Content has adapters into a number of the Oracle backend applications where you can share information that is managed within a repository. Since WebCenter is the base foundation of the contract lifecycle management, we get to utilize that functionality. And the whole intent of this is to be able to take contract or MSAs or NDAs or really any type of information that's managed within a repository, use these out-of-the-box adapters to be able to attach those to, say, PeopleSoft as a paperclip or EBS as a paperclip, and then share metadata back and forth. Now, non-Oracle products, there is an extensive API that comes with the base elements that we can connect to third-party applications as well and provide similar type functionality. And we'd be more than happy to speak with you guys directly about that.
So, Dawn, do we have any questions on the line?
There are no questions on the phone lines.
There is one question. Would this support Content UI? Anton, I'm not quite sure if you can go on and ask that question. Dawn, how would he open that up to answer the question, ask the question? Dawn, how would someone ask a question? Is it star 1?
It's star 1 if they want to ask a question.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's give Anton a second there.
Yes, again, if you have a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad.
And gentlemen, once this system was installed to address contract management, obviously the other use cases, document management, digital asset management, there's all these other things that we can do with this repository. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's actually a great point to bring up, Jody. This, is solved in one line of business solution, but it is absolutely not limited to that. As a matter of fact, the full intention is use this as your enterprise document management system. Be able to do digital assets. We've worked with retail organizations where not only do they have contracts, but they've got contracts around their digital assets, pictures of clothing, pictures of food product, pictures of stores that are usually created by third-party entities. So it makes sense that you are able to use these hand in hand.
And we do have a question on the phone lines from the line of Anton Bandar.
Yeah, hi there. I have a question about the Content UI. When I'm asking that question, I'm talking about the new ADF UI that Oracle provides with the content server. So right now, what we saw uses the kind of the core content server, so to speak. Is there a plan in the future to make it available in the new kind of ADF realm?
Yes, there is. So this is our initial release, which is using the core UI. Our 2.0 release, which we're still working on the timelines, so we'll broadcast that out to you as soon as possible, will be based off of the ADF and be able to take full advantage of that. In addition, having a full responsive interface so that you would not have to have a special mobile app, but be able to look at this through mobile or tablet devices because of the ADF.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Clive.
Okay.
Dawn, any questions?
There are no further questions in queue.
Gentlemen, maybe you could also address for the audience is deployment. So this is obviously a very functional system. Would you say that this is, how long would this take to be achievable? Also, is it available also in the cloud?
Yes, so it can be delivered on-premise. So if you already have WebCenter installed, or if you're installing a net new WebCenter environment, we can deploy this on your local environment. We also provide cloud hosting. If you want to do that directly through us, or if you want to take advantage of Oracle's hosting, you can deploy this in either of those locations. The average time to get this up and running and configurable would be about 6 weeks or less, depending upon what your requirements are, how many workflows you need to have, and how complex they are. But the advantage that you have is all of the metadata that most organizations need for contracts and RFPs and so forth are already in place. A lot of the workflows are in place. Usually it's just a matter of tweaking them to your specific environment.
Sure, there's another question on chat. Does this require Oracle's records management product, Universal Records Management?
No, it does not. So you can, for those of you who are familiar, you can actually use the WebCenter Universal Content Management. It would have limited records capability, or you could use full URM. But if you're just using the WebCenter Content Server, which does have full retention management capabilities, you're perfectly fine and would take full advantage of everything that comes with it. So you do not have to have the URM standalone, is what the question was asking. It would just deploy on standard WebCenter content.
Great. Another question is that some folks have paper documents. Is there scanning capabilities available in the solution?
So you can, once we get to the ADF interface for 11.1.1.8 of WebCenter does have a Twain provider built in so that you can actually scan from your interface. However, you can utilize other WebCenter technologies such as the image capture solution and integrate that as part of this so that if you need to do batch loading of your scannings, you can absolutely do that. Other organizations have multi-devices where they scan and email essentially, and we just monitor the appropriate email address and perform automatic check-ins from there. So for scanning, you have multiple options, just depending upon what you need, and be more than happy to dig into those with you.
And that is the last question on the chat. Dawn, I don't know if there's anyone else on the audio.
There are no questions on the phone lines.
Gentlemen, I'll leave it to you to wrap us, please.
Yeah, perfect. So I definitely appreciate the detailed questions. Love to hear those, and certainly appreciate everyone's time. As a follow-up, If you're interested in carrying on those discussions any further or having a demo that's more specific to you guys, please feel free to reach out to Philip on our team. His email, philip.champion@tekstream.com, and his number displayed there on the screen. We'll be doing some follow-ups with Oracle, so we're looking forward to speaking with you guys in the near term.
And for those who saw the WebEx, I did provide the URL to the TekStream solution, so you can activate that as well and get more contact detail and more information. So I thank you all for joining. I thank you, my speakers today, as well as all the attendees. And please reach out to me, Jody Shivo, if you have any additional questions or need information, and also, of course, the TekStream. But once again, thank you. Dawn and Gabe, who helped us with the web conference, thank you as much as well.
Thank you for participating in today's conference call. You may disconnect at this time.